So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions.
Welcome to the Build It to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all of it away to help MVPs. My name is Brett Swarts. In every episode, we're joined by the world's top entrepreneurs, sometimes wealth advisors, millionaires or billionaires, where they give us their secrets, their wisdom, and their insight so we can all level up and make a bigger impact. I'm excited about our next guest. She's located in the Tampa, Florida area. She's dedicated to helping individuals and families plan for a more confident financial future. In fact, that's what we're going to be talking about today, creating a confident financial future. And she works with each of her clients to identify and prioritize their needs and dreams, and then builds a plan to help them accomplish their goals. And she provides personalized and comprehensive approach to financial planning. In fact, she has a really, really amazing background with she's a certified financial planner. She has her MBA, she has her CRPC, APMA, and she's a private wealth advisor at Pavit Wealth Advisors, a private wealth advisory practice at Ameriprise Financial Services, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Laura Rehbein. Laura, how are we doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to have you on the show. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, maybe just give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus.
Oh, my story. I have been in the industry, I hate to say it, 31 years, 31 years this fall. I started when I still lived in Naples, Florida, and I'm in Tampa now. And at the time, I was looking to build something and build something where I could create a business for myself and accomplish my goals, but I also could help people. At that time in the industry, that's back when people would put seminar ads in the Sunday newspaper, because people actually read the print newspaper. And looking around, all I saw were middle-aged white men. So I identified a niche. I'm like, there's a niche for women. And so I found a company that would teach me and grow, and here I am 31 years later. And so I focus on helping clients bring clarity to their situation and clear up the confusion, because it doesn't matter how much money you have, people still tend to have anxiety. If you have $1 million, if you have 5 million, if you have 10 million, people still have anxiety just because your situation grows and becomes more complex with the more money you have and the businesses you own and the real estate you own, et cetera, right? And so the anxiety is still there for a lot of people. And so I help people work through that.
Amazing. Let's dive right into this, Laura. But before we do that, I'm curious. Laura, growing up, the number one superpower, what was the thing that your friends, your family said, "Hey, Laura, you're just always naturally good at this." What was that thing? And I'm curious how you use that gift or that strength to bless people today.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think, truth be told, I grew up in rural Michigan. My mom died when I was 12. And so my mom died, and my dad gave me keys to the car and a checkbook, and I had an account at the corner store to go find groceries when I needed to feed myself. So we can delve into the behavioral psychology aspect of that, but that's for some other session. But it becomes sink or swim. So when you're faced with adversity, have you heard the acronym FEAR? Face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. Face everything and rise. So if there's something that is hard for you to overcome in life or hard for you to address, get help from those around you, or get the resources or knowledge or whatever. And so that's what I try to bring to people.
Okay, this is great. I love it. I'm so glad I asked that question. So let's dive right into the topic, which is basically creating a more confident financial future for all of us today. So Laura, what's the number one secret to bringing clarity for families as they're building out their financial future?
Two statements to that. Measure your money against the job it needs to do someday, because I am sure that job will change over your lifetime. So constantly go back and measure your money against a job it needs to do, and know your number. Because sometimes people will come in and they've accumulated wealth. They've spent decades building a business, perhaps working for somebody else, building their net worth. They don't know their number. How much will it take for them to live monthly, annually, whatever, and what are the risks that are facing them? They've just been good at accumulating and building wealth. When you go to retire, your strategies flip. And I always say, what got you here won't get you there, because the strategies change.
Okay, that was amazing. So measure your money against a job that it will need to do someday. So good, so clear to get people to get clearly on that. And then know your numbers, right? And the strategies flip. I find that when you say know your numbers, as some people call it the retirement number, we found that a good way to think about it, and tell me what you think, is your truly passive income number. And I see each of those words specifically, right? Because I think a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate owners, they get caught in this passive income someday island, right? Mm-hmm. And they actually, are chasing this thing either through their businesses or their real estate investments, and the amount of accumulating assets that can provide this cash flow that will finally get them passive, because they'll finally be able to level up to 300 unit apartments to hire a full-time property manager, or be able to, go into this triple net property that gives them, no more, tenants, toilets, trash liability in the way they see it. But they never really get there, and it's always something pulling them there. And so we found that truly passive income is to your freedom and impact as compounding interest is to your money. But I'm curious, before I tell you my definition of what that really looks like day to day, what is your definition of either, finding your number and or truly passive income?
To me, I look at it from, I don't want to say this, finding your number. How much money do you need to come into your checking account every month for you to pay your bills? Where is that going to come from? Because when you're working, risk is a different sort of risk. You can take market risk, you can take real estate risk, you can take risk in your business. When you move into retirement, the risk changes. It becomes more of having secured income. So if somebody were to have a bunch of real estate, what I would look at as an advisor is, what is the absolute net income from that real estate that flows into your pocket? And what are the risks to that? What if the real estate goes vacant? What if you have tons of repairs? What if something happens? Is that guaranteed? If not, how do you create some guaranteed income so that way you're not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning in retirement going, oh my gosh, what if this huge apartment complex that I've, getting income from has a fire or has a whatever? Like, my income will shut off until I get it rebuilt. And I say that coming from hurricane-prone Florida, where I had to rebuild a house after being wiped out from Helene. So risk in retirement is just different. It's really about creating that steady stream of income that you no longer have to worry if it's coming in the door or not.
Okay, I love this. Okay, so I think we're really close on what my definition is, okay. And so here we are. Okay, so I like to tell a story. You ever heard Kenny Chesney? And he plays that guitar, and there's the song "No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem," right? And you're Kenny Chesney on the beach, and your feet are in the sand, and you're looking out on the horizon, and you see your kids and your grandkids and your family, and they're having fun at the beach, and you may have a drink on the other side, and the breeze is flowing, and this income is coming in completely passive, meaning my mind and my feet are in the same place. I'm present. It's not on the risks or the stress of the toilets, the trash, the termites, the rent control, the changing everything, right? Managing of the business or the real estate. I have certainty of conviction, meaning I know that because I understand the investments, I understand the risk, because risk in maybe every investment, just about maybe tell us some of the ones that are, the lowest ones here. But it's coming every month, and it's a certain number. It's either 30, 40, 50, maybe it's 20,000 a month, depending on where I'm at in my life. And it's showing up no matter my time or my energy. And so is no shoes, no shirt, no problem. I'm Kenny Chesney Louise. So that's my definition of truth, passive income. What do you think?
I like that, but I would throw in a couple other things. Because no shirt, no shoes, no problem. You're half naked on the beach, but that's okay, you're on the beach. What happens, and you have to plan in that scenario against sunburns. What could happen in your life that gives you a financial sunburn? You have parents that maybe didn't plan adequately or need long-term care. What if you need long-term care? What if you're banking on business revenue that you sold to a child or sold to something else and it falls through and you have to step back into the business? What if you have real estate that you're still loosely managing at some point in life? Maybe you're not going to be competent to manage that real estate. So where do you protect against the sunburns?
I love it. I love it. We're speaking with Laura Rehbein, everybody, spelled Rehbein. Laura Rehbein, everybody, Tampa, Florida. And if you want to learn more about her, you can look up her private wealth advisory at Impavid Wealth. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's IMPAVID Wealth Advisors with Ameriprise Financial Services. So let's keep moving here. Okay, so we talked about knowing your number. It makes sense. Okay, I find that there's three major things that stop people from getting clear. They have too much complexity, they have too much comfort, and they have too much complacency. Okay, and the more wealth they make, either the more homes they have, or the more K1s they have, or the more investments they have, and before you know it, they are traveling on this place for the summer and this place for the winter, and gosh, my friends are changing, and I'm disconnected, and I've got all this going on, and I'm getting older, and I have health challenges, and so talk about the best way that you have found for your clients to simplify and to get rid of the complex.
Everybody's different, and I do believe that as people gain more wealth, the situation typically gets more complicated. But one thing that we do when we do comprehensive financial planning, regardless of how much where you are in life or how complicated your situation may or may not be, we do comprehensive planning because the more complicated your life gets, you still need to step back and have an objective look at what's happening in your situation. Are all the pieces and parts still working? If they're not, what do you do? Do you sell that house that you don't really use anymore? What happens to capital gains? Do you keep the house? Do you hire somebody to manage all of this or not? Like somehow you have to still create clarity around your situation the more complex it gets. And I actually last year wrote a book, Fearless Finance. And for those folks who have never heard the word Impavid, because most people haven't, Impavid is a little known adjective in the English language that means fearless, hence Fearless Finance. But my book just goes back through basic concepts that people have to go back and revisit at different points in their life just to take a fresh look at their situation.
Oh, this is so good. I love that. I love it. I love that. So here's a question I found that helps people to have an objective look. And as part of it is by starting with the end in mind, right? And a question that I found that's helped me and my clients, and tell me what you think, Laura, is this. It's back to sitting on the beach again, but maybe this time you have your shirt on so you protect it from the sunburns, okay? And you're walking on the beach and it's maybe more of a cloudy day, right? And you're with your spouse or your significant other, your best friend, your kids, somebody, and you're walking together. And the other person looks back to you and say, hey, how did these last 30 years go? And at this point, you're 80 or 90, Hey, how did these last 30 years go? And you look at him, you go, they went perfect. And you say to yourself, wow, well, what would have to happen for you to say that? That these last 30 years, it went perfect. And we call this your perfect life metrics. right? And so this is your faith, your family, your fitness, your personal development, your finance, your friends, your fulfillment, your unique purpose and God-given gift that you believe you've been given to make a blessing and help to others. Like, it went perfect. So that's a clarifying question we found. What do you think about that question, Laura?
The one word that comes to my mind, delusion. Delusion. Nobody's life goes perfect. Can somebody's life be fabulous and wonderful? Absolutely. Can somebody's life have purpose and fulfillment? Absolutely. Is it perfect? No. Everybody makes a bad business decision somewhere. How many people get divorced? Unfortunately, that's way too many. How many people have issues with kids? Unfortunately, that's probably often. You know, the market's not perfect all the time. We make bad investments here and there, whatever. Nothing is perfect. So I think that's delusion. But what you can do and what would be fabulous is look at how the perfect things that have happened along the way that made your life fulfilled and the journey worthwhile.
Oh, 100% agree. And by the way, the outcome of that question is so more so to have an aim, right, today for what 30 years, if you're at least aiming for that. And you mentioned some key things. Kids are priceless, right? Priceless. The market, investments, you got to make sure you have proper risk, right? Your health, your relationship with your significant other. Like, these are the key priceless types of things that are really important. And so even just having these, like, I've even found, Laura, that some people they still don't have a living trust in place, and they're worth 5, 10, 20, 100, 100, lots of money. They're worth lots of millions, lots of wealth, and they don't even have a living trust in place, right? And so no one's going to say, hey, I wish in my life that I would, if I die, that all my assets are going to go to probate and it's going to get wasted away in the courts and my kids are going to have to figure out all the different things. So just asking some of these simple questions can help you to prepare and plan. But it's more than that, Laura, because it's not just so logical, because we know this stuff, right? It's emotional, right? So walk us through how you help clients, move and take action on the things that they need to be moving on.
Speaking of estate planning, since you brought it up, let's talk about that, because that is an issue. And there are times that people haven't updated their documents in a long time, or like you said, they don't have documents. What I'll do when I sit down and have a conversation with them is look at the risks that are out there and have that conversation. And one of my big focuses for the clients I have that are solo in retirement, they might have kids, but they're solo in retirement, is I'm concerned of what happens if something happens to them and they pass away, having the documents. But what if you are still here and you're not competent? Who takes the wheel? And I've seen good outcomes with kids stepping in, and I've seen horrific outcomes with kids stepping in. And when I start talking about that for some of my solo retirees, it's a wake-up call, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm always in control. I handle my own money. I do my stuff. If I couldn't do this, what would happen if I'm still here and somebody else steps in? And it becomes more of a stressor for them to take action.
Yeah, I agree. And even with like the business and the real estate too, right? That you have one person generally in a couple who's basically running the thing, and they're holding on and they're accumulating. They went from a warrior stage to king stage, and now they're, you got to become a sage, and you got to delegate and get the next generation or not, because something happens to you, then it's gonna be really hard to sell, well, probably, and negotiate well. And so you have another thought on that, Laura?
What if you're running a business and you haven't put together a plan for that business if, God forbid, something happens to you? You want your spouse sitting in that office trying to figure out what to do in the aftermath, and the family's grieving, and everything is just a mess because you didn't plan? I feel like families that find themselves in that situation, it's not that they didn't want to take care of it. It's something that's just not tangible, if that makes sense. Like, you can see how much money is in your investments. You can see how much real estate you've accumulated. You can see all these things. Not having the proper estate plan isn't a tangible thing, so it isn't sitting there staring you in the face every day like this gaping thing that you haven't finished. And so it's easy to just kind of avoid it. One of my other hot buttons on estate planning, and I'll always bring this up when the opportunity presents itself. I'm a big proponent. A lot of my clients have animals. I feel like if you have an animal today, you'll probably always have an animal. And when my clients do their estate plan, I always have them talk to their attorney, and in your estate plan, create a pet trust. Set aside money for whatever animal you have, your pet cat, your pet pig, your iguana, whatever the heck it is that you have, so that way that animal is cared for. Because the number of times I hear from people, oh, my daughter will take it, oh, my friend will, my son, my whatever. You have no idea what the future holds. And whoever promised to take your cherished dog or parrot, whatever the case might be, many, 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 many times that animal gets dumped at the shelter. And that's not a good outcome. And so you create a pet trust, there's money to take care of it, and the person in charge of your trust can find the individual to take care of your animal. Easy to do. Money left over goes to your beneficiaries.
I didn't think about it. I love it.
Yeah, that's my little...
Good plug for the pets. Yeah, don't forget the family members. I got my dog, and I want to make sure he's taken care of. That's a great point. Let's talk about estate tax and capital gains tax. Okay, you mentioned capital gains tax a little bit ago. So estate tax, right? 30 million married, 15 million single. It's for those who have, let's just call it excess wealth. They're safe with a 40% debt tax, right? So it's big. In the stepped up basis doesn't solve for that. I think many folks either overlook this or they kind of give up because they're like, well, I can buy a bunch of life insurance, which is really expensive, and I can you tell me more about that, and then I can gift it away to my kids as much as I can, as fast as I can, but I ran out of kids, ran out of time. I can give it all away to charity, but they may or may not be fully charitable inclined, at least 100%. And so they kind of say, someone else will figure that out. And you probably know the Miami Dolphins story, right? Those owners that end up having to sell the franchise after, patriarchs passed away. So what have you found to be the best way to quickly eliminate estate tax for ultra high net worth families that are worth 100 million plus?
I don't know that there's one best way to eliminate the estate tax, because it depends on what assets make up your wealth. So if you look at asset by asset, if it's investments, that's one thing. If it is highly appreciated real estate that maybe is a big chunk, that's a challenge by itself. What if it's a business? So I think that if you're of that net worth level, you really need to have a team of experts, a good financial advisor, me or somebody else that you trust, but a CPA and an attorney all sitting in a room together to map out the plans. Because depending upon the assets and the capital gains in there can create different strategies of what you should or shouldn't do. So I don't think there's one solid answer other than get a team and get in a room together.
Yep. Yeah. Hire the who, don't be the how. So our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, we specialize in doing just that, like comparing, contrasting different options with teams of advisors to figure out what's the best fit for folks. We found that the 1031 exchange can be very limiting for diversification, lack of liquidity, having to do debt replacement. We found that using trust with installment sales can be actually more flexible ways of doing things. And we also found a way to eliminate estate tax without any charity, life insurance, or gifting required, using an irrevocable trust on the sale of a highly appreciated asset. And so as an example, we did a large business exit out of the Northeast, large business. The gentleman's 35. And he doesn't need or want the money right now, but he's already facing the estate tax challenge, right? And so the planning is to sell and eliminate the estate tax, and all of the growth is forever outside the taxable estate. We can also save a failed 1031 exchange. I think the 1031 exchange gets a little bit too much press on the sense of, this is what you do in real estate. This is what you do in real estate. And then dying at a stepped up basis. Well, the estate tax doesn't solve for that. No, and also you're not diversified, you're not liquid, and you're not going back to maybe what you really want, which is truly passive income. And so you have this 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. Over 124 trillion, I think, is the estimate now over the next 10 or so years it's going to transfer. And there's 80 million baby boomers in the US alone. And you go, there's got to be planning and a better way for these folks to defer cap gains tax, to eliminate estate tax. It's part of why we created our company. If people want to learn more, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. But Laura, I started in 2006 at Marcus & Millichap, saw the market crash, and not having diversification, liquidity, and not enough debt freedom, people lost all of their wealth. And it was really sad to see that, especially in real estate when they overpaid in California. We're in a different marketplace, maybe, and maybe there's some similarities there too, but I'm curious, like, even to the 1031 exchange, what is your familiarity with that? And, clients that want to, come in and invest into the, more traditional investments, but they're stuck because of their cap gains tax. Any ideas of the frustrations with the 1031 you like to share?
I don't have a lot of people that have done 1031s, basically realtors who, as you said, that's their end all be all. And they just keep flipping and flipping and flipping, and it just becomes a bigger and a bigger problem. And until some point in their retirement where they're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's a hassle. It's a headache. I've got these properties I'm trying to maintain. I just want to retire. And then they've got this huge capital gain tax in there that they have to work their way out of. And it sounds like you have the perfect setup that can help people kind of pick through their whole scenario and what assets are in there to figure out what structure they should or shouldn't have.
Yeah, it can be perfect for those who want diversification, liquidity. They have to give some control to the trustee. Our role is a trustee. So yeah, it's a third-party trust. We like to call it kind of like a big IRA for your big real estate or business exit. It can work for Bitcoin and stock too. And upon the sale, you sell it to a third-party trust that only does business with you and then issues you a promissory note. So you become a creditor. So it's different than the continuity strategy of a 1031. 1031, you're continuing the ownership of an entity until you die and get a stepped up, or just get tired, like you say, and just pay the tax. Yeah. And so instead you can sell and then defer. And the beauty is the trust can invest into any asset of any kind. So a lot of our clients will work with an advisor like you, Laura, have a diversified portfolio of liquid investments, more suitable to their risk. Obviously they're diversified now, they're out of debt, they have liquidity. They can still put it into some real estate if they want to, but they don't have to. And that creates this freedom where it's truly passive now, right? You see back from the toilets, the trash, the termites. We had a client, Warren and Catherine, do this exit for them. They had these two twin daughters a little bit later in life, and they're like, we want to spend time with them. And I'm like, yeah, why would you trade the 3 T's, toilet, trash, and termites, for your 2 T's, your twin daughters? Yeah. Like, spend time. And they did, and they sold it, and they, had millions of gains. We deferred it, and then they diversified it, but more, they got their time back with their daughters, and they're like, that's priceless for us. And so what we say is, don't trade what's priceless for what's profitable. Set up a team and a plan that gives you what you really want. Again, if people want to learn more, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We are way out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, there's a lightning round. Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Laura, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
Keep going and don't let anyone stand in my way.
Awesome. Love it. Question number 2, what's the number 1 book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Buy Back Your Time.
So good, right, Dan Martell?
Buy Back Your Time.
Number 3, what are you most curious about right now?
Good question. Everything. Everything.
Okay, good. I like that. What's the number 1 way you're using AI?
We're using AI to help support our practice in terms of creating stronger solutions and double checking some of our work and putting together things for clients faster and more efficiently.
Love it. Question number 5, I think, here, 4 or 5. Number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
In one of the groups this year, they were going around doing this thing about what are your words for this year. And I missed all the text messages and I didn't see what they were doing. I had no idea what they were talking about. And then I was put on the spot of what my words were for this year. So I said, level up. And so my team has actually taken that and said, okay. And everyone made a definition of what level up means for them in my practice.
Beautiful. Love it. Next question. This is our last question. Actually, we'll wrap it up with this one. So your gift, right? We talked about kind of your gift. You're using your gift and being able to have your superpower, right? Face adversity, level up, step up, deliver for folks, right? This year, right? And moving forward, What do you feel for the clients you serve? What will be the best way so they have ultra clear on their confidence and they're ultra clear on their numbers and they're able to have the biggest impact? What's the one thing that you feel like if you could accomplish by the end of the year, or your team would make the biggest momentum towards that?
Have everybody read my book and have everybody refresh their financial plan and refresh knowing what their number is.
Beautiful. Laura Rehbein, it's been more than a pleasure to have you on the show. You shared tons of wisdom, knowledge with us. I want to encourage you to keep helping your clients and and the families you serve to have a more confident financial future. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you one last time, what is the best place for them to find you?
The best place to find me, you can drop us an email at impavidwealthadvisors@ampf.com, Ameriprise Financial. Or you can call our office, 813-319-0011. And if you want a copy of the book, just tell me you want a copy of the book and we'll drop you one in the mail, because I'm not selling it. I'm just giving it out. Karma out, karma back.
Awesome. Laura, thank you so much. And I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening or watching another episode of the Build It to Billions podcast. We're also streaming on our YouTube channels and podcast for Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. And we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we can give more all the way to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. We want to encourage you to take action today, get a clear, confident financial future, figure out what your number is, your truly passive income number, and find ways to unlock freedom by potentially exiting and using some of our strategies we spoke about here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions for selling and deferring tax, eliminating the state tax, eliminating the 1031 exchange. Take action today. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. With that, I'm Brett Swarts, and I appreciate everyone listening or watching. We'll talk to you again real soon. Bye now.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.